Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Rough Around the Edges, brought to you by Roughneck Games. I am Joe. With me are Dane.
Hello.
Dan.
Hello.
And Jarv. We're back. We are back. All right, so this one is episode 18 is going to be about video game crafting systems.
I can get down with that.
The craft. Pursuing your craft.
Right in your forge.
So at this point in time, it seems like there are a billion different games with crafting systems, but I wanted to start off with
it's a big number.
A billion, yeah.
1 billion.
It's rounded plus or minus
too
a
many.
billion.
We should just stop now.
1/7 of the Earth has made a crafting system.
Somewhere between 0 and 2 billion crafting systems.
I'll
That's a
give
fair
you that
range.
one.
That's
Yeah,
a fair range.
I think we're safe there. So I wanted to go with kind of our earliest memories, thinking back, because crafting systems in video games haven't really existed forever. So what, well, probably not.
Yeah.
But what are some of your first memories of crafting systems in games? What are some of the first ones that really stood out for you?
What's popping in real quick is Ultima Online.
Yep. Nice.
Did a lot of that in high school.
Made so many chairs.
So many. That one was, yeah. I mean, that's part of what I really loved about Ultima Online was a lot of the crafting was just furniture and shit you're not accustomed to.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're running around beating monsters to death with chairs. But
You're just
there's
making a
just
nice
something
table
so
to-
satisfying.
Yeah.
Of just I'm living the common life. I'm not playing the hero.
For me, it was
Heroes got to
definitely-
sit down sometime.
Exactly.
Well, that's what we would
People
do.
need
is
chairs.
We would let people in the group go mine, and then the carpenters would go up behind them and make a bunch of chairs for their resting period, as if that was essential. And
I just
that
remember-
is really my only real memory of Ultima Online. I don't think I actually played through any of the content.
Oh, no. I just made stuff.
I
Not
just
much
made
of it,
stuff.
right?
I just remember running around and dying all the time.
Yeah, it would be, I would go out, chop trees, and then make chairs in the middle of the woods, and then get PK'd by some random ass hat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, for sure.
That was
Well, I
pretty
think
much how I played.
we had a house, a guild house
We did.
eventually.
We did.
We did. We made all the
and
chairs for
we
it.
would get endless amounts of minerals
We would.
with
we
our,
had
our donkey runs.
Our one friend who was very much into the game
Yes.
and had just a ton of money and just kind of financed all of us.
Yeah, it
to
was a
do
large
whatever
group of
we want.
people.
It was
Well,
pretty
it was
large.
like at least like 10 people.
That's
right?
impressive.
Yeah,
it was.
It was large.
For
that
so
dabbled in it.
early in the MMO time.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. The crafting was great. I didn't even think about that.
That was a really good
That
one.
might be my earliest memory of crafting.
I think it may be. Yeah.
That's definitely earlier than I was thinking.
I'm trying to think of anything
So you
before
win.
that.
You win.
I mean,
I win.
yeah,
Podcast over. I win.
Podcast over, Jeff wins.
I'm trying to think of how far you can take the crafting concept into early games, because I can't think of a lot of 2D, Nintendo games, 80s era games, certainly not on the Atari, that allow for crafting. I mean, is it crafting when you collect items to create a new thing for yourself, like Mario collects in Mario 3?
In
Frog
essence,
suits.
it's the same thing. I mean,
Well,
you're not turning those items into something
Right.
else, right?
You're just gathering it and then
Yeah.
using it as
Yeah.
a different persona.
I think
So maybe gathering more than crafting, but those go
Yeah.
hand in hand.
Sure.
that general description works, but not like you can't take it too far to where
Right.
like you gather money and purchase goods and that's crafting. Like you can't do that.
Right.
A
Yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
a lot of games that
Crafting
mechanic.
commerce.
A lot of games that
Aw.
is the mechanic though. Instead of getting coins, you get like 3 different types of things, and you put them together and make something else.
It means so much more though, Joe.
It's true. That's my
You've
argument.
done it yourself.
It's like but it's kind of like you go to this other interface rather than a shop, and you
Right.
give it like 2 gold ingots, and you make yourself like a ring or something.
True.
In
Yeah.
essence,
Yeah.
Well,
there's more to it, obviously, but it all boils down to
And it's
in a lot
certainly
of systems. It's not all
Mats being
systems
the currency of,
Yeah.
of the,
Right.
right.
where you deal in a bunch of different currencies that mix and match together to make other things.
And it certainly gets more complicated as we move through time.
Right.
Well,
True.
Diablo 2's on there. That's another mid-90s.
So is that
that's the
the
cube.
Herodric cube?
I think it's the
crafting
cube.
system.
Because
Yeah.
there's nothing... Well, you can put gems and stuff. That's crafting. But
Upgrading
it's, you
gems.
literally just...
Yeah.
Well, what
Oh,
isn't
man.
just
Very
clicking
straightforward.
buttons? So
What is
I
it?
guess
It is all just
I'm not
Yeah.
really working a forge here.
Right. But
Yeah.
you're definitely like fitting that gem in there. Right?
that's true.
I don't
hard
put
fit.
topaz in many of
Well,
my
you
home's
you
items. There are
craft-
some.
crafted most of the
No,
gems. 'Cause, I mean, you would unless you had the lower forms of the gems.
To
you
go
know.
shove some topaz
It
in
is.
my toaster.
There's a
after
little
this.
gray area though. Although now that you mentioned Diablo 2, this isn't crafting in there, but I will always like the best moment when starting a new character for me was always when you finished the quest where you killed the butcher and you got like his mallet and you could upgrade.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You could upgrade an item to rare. Any item
with
you wanted.
Charcy, right?
Charcy.
That was always a great.
Hey,
like, I
I'm
would
Charcy.
create
The
character
early
after character
Kaylee
just
right
to
there.
just to
An
change
industrious
things into
babe.
rare. And
Yeah.
I mean, in the long run, rares don't mean shit, but it was still
True.
just.
But
like,
you could do it.
You were so young back then. I mean,
I have a
you know,
rare item.
Your level 10 character was so young for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Have a
yellows were just
golden
like,
item.
And so ready
best
to
thing.
bone Charcy.
oh yeah.
That was a conversation multiple times.
She had those strong biceps, you know.
Yeah.
They didn't
She
really.
was a strong lady. That'd
That's
be an
something
interesting
that-
encounter.
Some TF and
Right. That game was a little bit before they really had the romance interests in a lot of games, though. But that's
busty.
it's a different
busty lass.
different topic line, I guess.
Yeah, a little crafting.
But yeah, Diablo
relationships.
2 had a lot of like. Again, this isn't crafting based, but I'm just making comments that popped into my head. Diablo 2 had a lot to it, and they were all simple systems, like the gambling system. That was really cool.
Right.
It was just like that's such a
Yeah,
good
level-
game. I wish you wouldn't have
leveled
mentioned that
items.
because I want to play
Yeah,
it.
every time it
but
comes
there's no
up.
reason to play it, but I want to play it.
Well, mostly it seems like crafting systems almost solely reside in RPGs.
I think
for,
that's
for the most part. I mean,
That's
they
true.
they vary, but I feel like there are some older games that were RPGs on consoles that had crafting systems in them. I think the Gauntlet 64 did. There was like a.
Did it really?
I thought it did.
I
I'm stretching.
remember,
or maybe
enjoying
that was like
game,
the
but I don't remember crafting.
Battle Ogre game that was an RPG on N64. I
Right.
can't remember
Ogre
what it was.
Tactics?
Ogre Tactics.
Yeah, maybe.
But there were some games back then I think that did.
everything that's coming into my mind from early, PlayStation 1 and Sega. It's all just
Yeah.
you do gather stuff, but it's just a trading mechanism for X items that unlock as you level. Like
Yeah, you
Tenchu comes to mind. from
Exchange
PlayStation.
something.
You gather your currency,
Yeah.
and then eventually you can get shurikens in addition to smoke bombs or something.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like, in a sense, Final Fantasy Tactics, you craft your classes.
Nice.
That
There we go.
Yeah.
I know it's quite a
You're
stretch,
right, though.
but
collect two different levels
I can't
of
think of
different
many.
things and-
Yeah, I can't think of many games where you have to like put in the time and effort to level multiple classes to unlock better classes.
Yeah, or just
more
go work on a
unique
class
Right.
that you're not interested in.
Right.
And you have to make
because
real choices. I mean, your
Right.
your job points are not limitless. You
Right.
just played
Yeah.
Final Fantasy Tactics for the first time ever, right?
fairly recently.
I mean,
yeah.
it was like when we
Yeah, I
started
hadn't
that
really
6
played it
months
before.
ago or whatever that was. What did you think about the depth of the class crafting system?
I
which
thought it was
I'm now
pretty
going to call it.
crazy.
Isn't it crazy
Um,
the depth
it-
there?
the-
The statistics
it was
everywhere.
so
I thought it was
unique.
crazy
Yeah.
because you brought up on. I think you brought up on your phone the spider web that that somebody made to
Right.
display
the class tree. Yeah.
tree, and it was convoluted as hell. So
Right.
it was kind of nuts.
Well, then we open those menus, and you're like, okay, you just press like 40 buttons, and this is one of my favorite games. So I'm just clicking buttons out of muscle memory, and it's
You
like
really were. It's
triangle,
like,
down,
what
down,
the hell
down,
did you
circle,
just
triangle,
do?
triangle, circle, like you're just pounding through, and then you find there are menus after menu after menu. I mean, you go with like 8
Yeah, it
levels
just
deep to
digs.
menu just to get to the abilities. It's nuts.
Well, there's also a lot of in that game confirmation pop-ups. Like, are you sure you
Oh,
want to do
yeah.
this?
That's true.
Are you sure you
That's
wanna
true.
do
It's a
this?
double tap. A
So,
lot
yeah,
of the
that's
time.
why
Japanese
you
are
hit things
very
really fast.
concerned on whether you really
Yeah,
want
they
to
don't
do
want you to
something.
They
make
get a little
mistake.
anxious about choices.
Right.
It's like, hey guys, slow down.
Yeah.
Is
I know
this-
you're all
Are you
John
sure
Wayne.
you want to?
End of
John
the
Wayne
world if
USA
you make the
over there.
wrong decision.
Are
It's
you
like
sure you
the-
want to confirm this confirmation?
All the PC games
Yeah.
where it's like quit to desktop. They're like, "Are you sure you don't want to save first? Maybe
Yeah.
again, even though you just did it. I don't know."
In their defense, though,
I know you think you're Clint Eastwood. Boom, coming in here.
Yeah, but
All
slow your
fast.
roll.
Final Fantasy
Slow
Tactics.
down. Think about it. a bit.
Actually, one of the games where I did completely screw myself and have to restart over. Start over.
Ooh.
I got to a point. I was pretty far into it. I want to say I was somewhere in the second act, so not real far, but it was a goodly distance. And I had never used the send your characters to work function. That they have
go
in the
on an
inns.
adventure.
Yeah, or
This is
whatever
the
that-
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I want to figure out what this is. So I saved my game while I was in town. The only save that I had. because it was on memory sticks at
Yeah,
that
you
point
had
or
those
something
little
like
tiny
that. Right.
sticks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saved it and I made the horrible decision of sending my entire party on adventures.
Your elites.
And I'm like, well, I'll just head out of town and I'll waste some time and come back.
Oh,
But it happened to be a point in the story where you're leaving town and you get attacked.
Oh god.
So I had
yeah.
to try to solo. Like I had 2 people that I couldn't send on adventures because they were main storyline quest people. I had 2 people and I had to try to do that battle. I tried it like 10 times, couldn't do it.
That's
So I had to start the whole game over because there was no way for me to undo that mistake.
And you can't.
it's because I hit that damn yes, I'm sure I want to do this button, and
you
I wasn't sure.
And you can't rest. You can't waste time.
No, there's nothing
You
I could
must
do. I
stay.
had to start
Moral
over.
of the
That's the
story:
worst.
That is horrible.
It was brutal.
when you find a game mechanic halfway through that was there the whole time, don't start it in the middle.
Don't fuck with it.
That is a good
Yeah.
moral.
When things are going well, don't experiment.
I needed to know though.
Be risk averse. Play
I
it
paid
safe.
the ultimate price.
I was surprised in those side
You got
missions.
child security. What are you doing messing
right.
around like this?
I like that they had those, but those were incredibly underwhelming in their rewards.
I to this
It
day
was
don't
like-
even know how they work
it
because
was
I
like-
never did it again.
I mean,
I was like, I'm not doing this.
you get to the point in Act 2 probably where you have 30,000 gil, and then you're like, oh, sweet, side quest for my my B team. Let's do it. Then they come back and they're like so pumped. This is the way. We found a silver dagger and 30 gil. And I was like, what did you do out there? Get back inside. You're cooking all week.
Did you go to the beach and kick the sand around a bit and
Right.
come back?
Like, we saw a mine and there weren't people there. This is the way. 30 gil. It's like, wow. You picked up pennies in the mine for a week while we just
I could
struggled
smash
against the
3
swamp
vases
monster.
in the bazaar and we could have had that.
Right.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Cool
funny.
feature, though.
10th of the time.
Of course, my way's illegal, but nobody seems to care.
Just to bring it back to this very
That's
basic
right.
mechanic of like saying yes or no, whether you want to quit, I find it really refreshing on indie games, especially when you hit exit and it just full on exits.
Yeah,
You're
we're
like,
done
yes,
here."
Correct.
Yes.
I'm glad that
I
happened.
agree with that.
And
Do
then
you want
you're
to
like,
exit
"All
to
right."
the menu or the desktop, or do you want to exit?
Do you want to start a new game? It's like exit. I just clicked exit. Continue game. No.
Well, actually, that's something that I've recently Fallout 4.
Yeah.
When you quit, it pops up and says, "Do you want to quit to the main menu or to the desktop?"
Right.
And you just hit the desktop button. And boom, it totally closes.
Straight there.
It's great.
Doesn't
Fast closing.
So does Alt F4.
We
So
love you
nice.
developers. Who
doesn't
So
it give
nice.
you a little jazz? I can't remember
Well, jazz about what do you want
like,
to do?
leaving. Like,
I
what
don't,
are you
I
gonna
don't
do?
think so. You open
No,
menu.
The
and just
world's
hit
gonna
it.
fall apart if you're not there or something like that.
No, that's a different game.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
They do it for save and load though. There's definitely a. Are you sure? Which I appreciate.
Are you sure you want to go in and save the world? God bless you, master.
When you are trying to save in a very tense moment and then hit quick load,
Yeah.
20 minutes
Oh
behind,
man,
and then you're like,
Oh.
well, total quit.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back to this.
Rage
when
done with
I
this for the day.
am not gonna murder Piper right now.
So I wanted to hit an interesting one that we talked about previously, which I think is probably one of the more creative crafting systems, most creative crafting systems I've seen is Final Fantasy 14,
Agree.
which
totally agree.
I think that's one of the most advanced I've ever used.
we've
think
we've
it
talked
is.
about it before, and one thing I wanted to point out before we go too deep into it is I'm pretty sure that there was an MMO
Vanguard.
called Vanguard,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that had a very similar crafting system.
Yeah.
That I think Dan and
I don't
both
know.
dabbled in
Yes,
briefly.
I
When wa-
played Vanguard.
Yeah.
How old is that?
It had potential and then fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
It was like a
I-
couple years after a while.
2007, I think
Oh,
I
okay.
played
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
it was
2006,
one of those possible
2007.
like WoW killers, and then
Yeah, one of the many that
it
went
was
toe
one,
to toe.
one of the
and fell over.
original WoW
Right.
like competitors, and then it fell, and then anything after that was
Oh, yeah.
done too.
Yeah.
A lot of people tried to get in the ring with WoW, and WoW just knocked him out in round one every time. It was just sad.
Yeah.
I
WoW
remember,
does it right.
I remember you played that, Joe, and you were really into exploration.
Yeah, briefly.
You were just like, I want to run around and find things.
And I
was
just thought I could do that in WoW.
like, yeah, I was like,
Sounds great.
what are you doing here?
See the world, they say.
So yeah, Final Fantasy 14, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's what it is?
Yeah,
That's
the most fun crafting system I've ever
Yeah.
experienced.
I liked that you could have entire groups of different classes that you could switch to, like cross-class into
right.
that and switch to it with different gear sets and
Like-
everything.
Yeah.
I have
No
a
limit.
love hate with
Yeah.
the way they did that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was so
I
intense.
absolutely enjoyed it, but at a certain point, I was tired of having to switch gear whenever I wanted to switch to a different crafting.
Yeah.
I was tired of like the grind and I personally love grinding out things. Like I'll sit there. I'm the type of player in like World of Warcraft. I'll fly around and gather herbs for 2 hours listening to music.
Just
absolutely
it's
love it.
satisfying. It's like mowing the lawn.
Right, but trying to sit there and use like those macros that I set up to try to crit all these crafting while I'm grinding out blacksmithing. I'm just like, oh my god. And at the same time, you're like, generally I was in the trade markets area or whatever, and everyone's doing it, and so it's just like
a billion people with looms,
symphony of crafting, and you're just like, okay, I can't.
There was sort of a din, a racket, if you will.
I loved it at first, and I think ultimately I don't like it.
I would absolutely agree.
It got more and more complex as you went along, and it got more and more kind of like a arduous thing that you had to go through. Especially because you could pick up, and we did pick up pretty much every crafting skill to the point that they're all going to be different levels, so they all have to have different gear because some of them will be higher level, wear better gear, some will be lower level, wear worse gear. Yeah. So you had like infinite gear items to try to keep track of as you went along.
Got pretty extensive. Yeah. I think I see it as like almost a bell curve in my mind where the beginning was super refreshing and fun, and then it kind of steadies out, and you're like, all right, this is monotonous, and then you get good, and you get to that middle level, and then you're like, this is amazing, I'm critting, here we go.
Getting really good at this.
And then you get to that peak, and you're just start going down to like, nothing I do matters anymore.
I don't want to do this anymore.
And it's just, it is an endless grind.
Yeah.
Although the sound, like we talked about sound recently on this podcast, though the sound, at least for the leatherworking one, and I think it was pretty similar for every crafting.
Had pretty great
the sound of what you were doing, and on a crit, that like crunchy zing moment.
Yeah.
That was
zing.
That was a good sound bit. I mean, that you felt good when you heard that. You're like,
I know what you're talking
earn
about.
that.
Yeah.
Earn that.
It really stood out.
We're going to do this for another 20 minutes, so that happens again.
Yeah. No, yeah, I totally agree. I loved it so much. To me, it was monotonous. Like when you wanted to be doing something,
something else.
When you like had a daily that was like craft 50 of these or something like that, and you're like, I really don't want to do that. And then you start setting up macros to do things for you, and setting up the speeds so that they would line up to do because I loved the fact that it was very in depth in what you were doing. There were multiple levels. You were trying to like increase quality and manage.
Oh, there's a whole strategy to it. Yeah,
many different variables. I don't remember, and it's different for everything. But
there's like a whole different stat tree.
Yeah,
that went along with it.
And to get like the perfect thing, and it's like it was really amazing. And I remember one thing that sold really well was black dye, and I started making black dye, and black and red dye sold really well. And I would just sit there, and I made up a macro to time like when it should do all these different things, because I knew like I would get this thing here, and that this would be up to this percentage of quality.
Right.
And
the algorithms were.
Because if you macroed wrong, then it was going to skip a step. And
disaster.
You were doomed.
And it was exploded. And it was great because I would just be sitting there. I remember your brother Ben took a screenshot of me like working in the middle of town square, and I was AFK. I was probably in my car going to get food or something like that.
Nice,
mortar and pestle.
Yeah,
it worked really well. If you could get it down to where like you had it like the sweet science.
Yeah.
The sweet science. You write that macro. Just let it go.
They came out with a new expansion and all kinds of stuff.
And they blew up our house.
Oh God, they did.
They did.
We've touched on this before. It was a rough Christmas.
I liked that game. I wish
I never saw that.
I wish it would have. Yeah, you did.
I didn't.
I think you did.
I think I stopped before that, and then you guys said like, "Hey, we just got a house. It's gonna be great." And I was like, I think it's over.
You didn't log in to get?
I don't think I did.
I thought we all had the one visit to it, and then that
was about it.
I hear that a lot from people, like friends that I don't normally game with, but are familiar with, Steam friends or whatever. They always notice I'm playing new things. They're like, "Do you ever stick with the game?" I'm like, I really don't.
I've become sort of a dabbler.
Yeah, but I dabble a lot. I don't.
I like to see a lot.
If I had the time of my childhood, I would totally play games start to finish and move on to the next one.
Yeah.
But I don't, and I still want to play them all, so I just play them all for less time.
It's like
I agree.
video game tourism at this point.
There's
Yeah.
so much good stuff out there.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Yeah.
hard to
You can't
rationalize
see
that.
it all
and
the
then
way
there's
through.
the Steam sales.
And then there's this.
The old fiscal fist.
There's also
The fiscal fist.
the issue. I mean, I think it is part of growing older as well, because when we did invest a ton of time into a single game, it was pretty much the early days of Diablo and WoW and those games that we got
was like
really into.
All night after you got home from school.
But it was
and
high school.
weekends
Exactly.
were morning to
But that was
evening.
It was high school, and it was college. It was early careers, and we all had these we wanted to achieve and get these ambitions out, and we did it through those games.
Yeah.
So we did want to go the full mile there, and it was okay because it didn't impact our lives. But now we're stupid real adults.
Well,
Like,
a
shit
lot of times we
matters.
go in and have some goal, like let's get a house in Final Fantasy,
Right.
And then we hit it, and we're like, sweet,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
we
Final
don't need it
Fantasy-
anymore. 'cause
I think Final Fantasy
done.
might have stuck had we enjoyed their instances more.
Yeah.
They were few and far
Well,
between,
that's
and
true.
they were a little weird.
the best
They
part
were-
was they ended with the Final Fantasy music, victory music.
That
Yes,
was the best
that was
part.
That was the
Sweet.
best
Yeah.
part,
And
God,
when
and the group pose.
and doing the power up super moves
Yes,
on boss.
Yeah,
those were cool.
Those were cool.
I did like those.
That had some good elements. I personally really liked.
Made me feel so special.
It was. I was. I
you
was
do the
actually
Lancer thing.
impressed at how interesting the class quests were.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
I thought
That's true,
Tor
those were
was gonna had ruined me forever, but I don't know. I did the Bard one. It was very entertaining.
Yeah, they were
Yeah,
still very
the
engaging.
Lancer one was
engaging.
great,
Yeah.
and I became very interested in the lore and the how they fought dragons and stuff, and leapt
I love them.
all over the place.
They
like
loved
crazy.
You got to have a Lancer in your party. It's the bottom line.
7 Lancers leaving.
You ain't going to the bosses without a Lancer. That's my one Final Fantasy
jump-
Tactics rule.
Oh man,
They jumped from over here, and oh man!
Yeah.
Oh,
they
were you
hit
going to
all
attack
you
the
guys over
Lancer?
here.
I'm sorry, he's in space.
Yeah.
And he's landing
Right.
on your
He's
boss's head.
off the screen. He's on the screen.
I
Oh,
definitely
your
now
chemist
you're
is
dead.
tossing you a potion? That's cute. Land on its head. Dead. God, I love the Lancer.
Didn't calculate for that.
Nice.
He loves dabbling in the stratosphere.
Well,
does.
I think WoW deserves credit for crafting, because that is definitely my earliest.
Yeah,
we
they did
we
well.
actually
That was
specialized. I mean, WoW forced it. You could only have X number of both
Yeah,
gathering and
one
crafting.
crafting, two gathering, I think.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so we specialized to complement each other, which was awesome on a
Yeah,
crafting
It was
level.
all planned out.
And what I like about that was it became a little more than just you're going to randomly happen upon these mats and create out of it. You're going to make a concerted effort to gather it in 2 different ways to make sure that works together. And I don't know, that felt really immersive. Like you said, 2 hours gathering. I mean, that's a game in and of itself, you know?
Yeah, I remember every morning before work, I'd be logging in,
Yeah.
you'd be logging in.
I had to
yeah.
go fish with
You're flying around
Zoroaster, get my
fishing.
deviant delights.
Yeah,
Logging into fish,
Any game
it was
where I
like a
can,
nice
I
little
made
morning
so much
ritual.
money.
Coffee.
fishing before class.
It was
Coffee
a great,
and gathering.
great coffee session.
That's a great way to
Everyone
start.
has a little guild chat. How's it going?
any game where I could
Yeah.
make myself a helicopter and fly around in it, that's a win.
That's true. That was a
I
cool
very much
feature.
enjoyed that in one of my characters.
Yeah, the addition
Engineering
of
was
them.
great.
Engineering was super cool.
Well, and it's one of those.
Parachute pants.
Oh
for
yeah,
days.
it's one of those that I think that one was kind of lagging behind as not very useful or fun, and then it kind of they brought it back up nicely with expansions when you could use that flying
yeah.
mount and
Yeah,
some of the gear you could
Some
make yourself.
people would definitely. I think some people would
great.
challenge that. You know, like they've never stopped. They love. I mean, that's part of their life
Yeah.
now, fully. You know,
Yeah.
it's just an important.
I think he
part
was.
of their life.
I think he was referencing engineering as a.
Oh, engineering specifically.
That
Oh, my bad.
crafting ability.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought
Yeah,
you meant
yeah.
WoW in
It was
general.
a little-
They
Oh,
no,
changed it
no,
to
I
like,
meant
yeah,
that
WoW.
meant,
Yeah,
like, engineering as a crafting.
My bad.
Engineering was the most
Class.
expensive. to
Everyone
level,
would
Yeah.
agree.
and it wasn't.
and it
as
was
useful.
it didn't pay off, and then
Yeah,
but
but
now,
I feel like they made it better.
now it's the shit.
See,
Uh,
there you
With
go.
the Goblin edition, right? Cataclysm. You can make
That's
cars
probably
and,
where
like,
it came
weird,
in. Yeah,
crazy
they
stuff.
have all these mounts that you can build.
It's all
and-
about
yeah, it's really
rebalancing.
cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally misunderstood that.
yeah, it's all gone haywire.
Off the charts.
I wonder what
Directly
that
off the
archaeology edition is like in there. I never really got.
I don't know. I heard that it's a huge chore to do archaeology.
That is consistent with real life.
Yeah.
It is not glamorous.
It's sweaty work.
From what I understand,
Yeah.
You mean it
there's
wasn't
certain items that you can only
Indiana
get.
Jones when you were doing it?
It was close, but there were no Nazis and also no
Little
action,
Reno
and
Jack.
also no beautiful women.
No hearts being
waiting
pulled
to
out of
speak
chests?
languages at me.
Mm.
Well, there
Just
were
a-
some, I suppose.
Just
Melting
a
faces.
lot of dust.
Yeah, it was a lot of like, okay, we're gonna dig out this thing today. Get your brush out and get on your knees and take your pickaxe, not because you'll need it in the dirt that you're about to dig in, but because scorpions burrow there and they will attack you on sight. So I had to chop the heads off scorpions
No,
as I
I'm
dug
out.
through sand to uncover a staircase.
I'm
Actually, I really enjoy that because it's like mowing the lawn. You see your progress.
Yeah,
It's very
you-
satisfying.
visible.
And when you are done, you're like, wow, I just uncovered something that
Yeah.
hasn't been seen by man in 2,000 years.
And it's even better
That's a little
than mowing
different
the
than
lawn.
mowing the lawn.
Because
Yeah.
mowing the lawn is a futile
Repetitive
process.
task. It just keeps growing back.
It really is.
You over.
That's why you go with
Over
the,
again.
we took care of the lawn. We just got the lighter
flames.
fluid.
yeah.
Why you
is
got to
the-
use gasoline, otherwise it won't get to the street.
You melted the linoleum on my house.
Oh Jesus! So
yeah,
some,
I love that crafting though.
So let's go through some of the list of favorites though for crafting
Okay.
systems first before we start bashing.
Agree.
So
Before we start bashing,
there's always got to be some bad.
I
ones.
agree.
Well, yeah, I think WoW is up there. and
Yep. Final Fantasy,
Ultima
obviously covered.
Online,
Ultima.
for sure. Most of them are very similar, so it's kind of hard to
It is.
Well, you got to dig into
for them to
Skyrim.
stand out.
Oh yeah, some of the later RPGs. Fallout.
I might be in the minority here, but I don't like Skyrim's crafting system.
I don't
Really?
think the base game's crafting system is good at all. I agree.
I've
but
not played the mods.
I think with the mods,
okay.
it's better.
Was there one in particular that made it better,
No, I think just people's
or just the
mods
organizational stuff that you could get through
made
mods?
it a lot better.
Yeah.
Just some things you could make, like being able to make cloaks and
Oh, the cloak.
being able to break down some items into usable mats to make other things. And
Yeah, it kind of expanded the whole thing.
yeah.
Yeah, Skyrim's really basic, though, right?
Yeah, I think just in my mind, it was too basic.
It really was just you clicked on this thing and got stuff, and then you click on this thing and you got it, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to
Yeah.
work.
There just wasn't
There's no
enough
skill thing.
There just wasn't
That's
enough variety
But-
to what you were crafting.
I agree. I think the system itself was really simplistic, and I think a lot of people had a very similar view there of it being not what it could have been.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was just satisfied in an Elder Scroll games to have the ability and the autonomy to like do things myself. I didn't have to find anything
Sure.
other than the mats. I didn't have to buy stuff if I didn't want to. I could save that for house stuff or whatever I was
Yeah,
doing.
Right.
Or you could buy
And that's
more
another
mats and get it
element of
done faster.
crafting. They included crafting your house.
That's true.
And
that
that was
good.
it was satisfying, and it was nice that it felt good to be. Maybe I played Skyrim too much, but I felt like I was self-reliant, a little
Self-made
transcendentalist out there. I'm just
Yeah.
Thoreau in the woods,
Well, plus
going
you could
into
make
town for dinners every 2
Burly
days, making some
individual.
swords.
plus you could make better equipment a lot of times than you could find in certain
Definitely,
gear items once you
Yeah.
once
leveled
you
it
get
up
smithing
and
up
you worked your ass
enchanting,
off.
the
and
double enchant smithing
yeah.
axe is absurd. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yep. Especially
I
if
mean,
you're
that
really
could-
good at alchemy and make really good potions for enchanting and blacksmithing and just
Yeah.
basically
that's
triple
another
boost.
criticism
There
of
were
the
like
crafting system
min
too.
max, like
Yep.
crazy things you could.
Oh,
do.
Which
yeah.
is it's so OP'd that it essentially undermined the entire random generation of items in the whole world. You know,
Right.
like what's the
That's true.
there's none of that anymore. You know, that nobody cares. Which is sad. Everyone likes to collect. I mean, for people like us, we're very much full clear people, so
Yes.
Tend
we're
to
gonna
be,
find
tend to
anything
be.
we can.
FC
Right.
full clear.
So
Well, just to toss another one in there, I don't know how many of you have played the Witcher series, but
yes,
Totally.
I played the first one
okay.
to some.
I did
degree.
not play the first one. I played the second
Aha.
one though, and
I
it
played
was
first and second.
crafting in the second one wasn't a huge part of it, but it was very unique in what you were crafting, and a lot of it had to do with like the specific boss
Yeah.
monsters that you took
Yeah.
down.
Yep.
And that was
Very
always
cool.
very satisfying because it wasn't like you were mining ore and then you crafted a sword. It was you took down this mythical creature and crafted something out of its hide.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I very
Exactly.
vividly remember that the reason I even played Witcher 1 was because Dan made an argument to me that the crafting system alone is something that you would appreciate, and your argument was crafting is a fundamental part of your success in your actual activity, fighting or whatever, which is a really appealing and kind of rare thing. I mean, how often do you use potions in Skyrim? Probably not that much, right? You
not to use them.
But in Witcher, you will get killed if you do not do the right thing with your alchemy.
Part of being a Witcher is you make these potions that excel your ability.
Right. And you definitely you know me well and knew me well back then to know that all you had to say was that, and I bought all the games.
Well, it's something that's
I bought all the games. I buy all games.
Actually, I haven't bought Witcher 3 yet, but I played 1 and I never finished 2.
that's something that's fundamental.
I need to finish 2 because to play 3.
2 intimidated me. It was a scopy game.
But that's something that's fundamental to crafting systems in video games, in the sense that in a lot of games, it's just a really extra tacked on, addition.
Yeah.
That doesn't make or break the game. It just adds another.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
so when something like The Witcher comes out, where like crafting is an essential part of the game, like. You need to be crafting these things so that you can actually kill. You need to craft this potion so that you can actually kill this kind of creature.
Right.
Yeah, those are the best games. Like Cook Serve Delicious. That whole game is crafting.
Yeah.
It is.
And I love it.
Lasagna.
That's
Old
just
mushy
And
face,
occasionally
she just
cleaning the
wants
bathroom.
lasagna at 10 in the morning.
What a fun game.
How well can you pour this beer, Manny?
Lasagna and beer, give it to me.
Another thing I feel crafting can add to a game, and I guess only in MMOs, is the economy that it creates.
Oh, definitely.
And I think WoW is probably the example that did the best in that respect. It's just such a huge part of.
What about the
their
Diablo
economy.
3 store?
Oh, dear.
I'm sorry.
Oh man!
But it's like Deviant Delights
for
would have
sure.
been useless as an in-game item if there weren't,
yeah.
The Deviant
recipes for crafting
Delights
that counted.
were useless, and that was the best part of the crafting of it.
Yeah.
Because people
But they
bought
were
them
fun.
for
That's true.
And they were
People
fun.
really
The
liked
Canadian
it.
pirate,
It's fun.
for sure.
And,
I agree.
And it was great. Like you're running an instance and someone eats a
And they're a
savory
pirate.
DV delight,
Yeah.
and they're a pirate. But
they
even
spent
now,
so much
like
money on it.
Sometimes you make a
there's some
fish fist.
I was reading this article on Kotaku, and they were talking about like rare items in World of Warcraft or something to that respect. And there's still people that put up like things like, do you remember the Swift Thistle tea?
Oh, yeah.
recipe?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's not a part of the game anymore, but some people still
They just
some
have
people
them.
still have the recipe.
It's great.
And occasionally someone will put it on the auction house and it'll sell for an absurd amount of money.
Oh,
Wow.
Just because it's like this rare item that is not a part of the game anymore. But
That's
One of us have that
That's such.
somewhere.
I think so.
It's such a mimicry of the real world where people just play
Supply and
will pay,
demand.
Yeah.
will pay extreme amounts of money for something that, in reality, all logic would say is not worth this money, but just because it's like the last one,
Yeah,
or like
hard
This
to
is the
get.
first model of typewriter ever made. Oh,
Right.
I need that.
Antique
Do you really?
Roadshow.
No. But you're gonna pay $1 million for it.
I must admit I am that type of person. I don't do it now because I don't have an exorbitant amount of millions. But like if I was super wealthy, a lot of that wealth would be spent on antiquities and ridiculously exclusive.
Why not?
there's more to it than just what you see or what is
Right.
there.
I mean, you're holding.
There's the whole story.
Right.
Chunk of history.
I get it. I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's more value
Kind of
than
makes you
value.
want to just
When I sit
go play
on
WoW
you-
and manipulate the market.
I want to sit on everyone.
I should just do that in the real world.
Yeah.
But why do it when
Why
there's
bother?
nothing to lose
Yeah.
in the game?
It's a lot easier. It's like
Yeah.
playing EVE Online, which that crafting system was pretty
I
convoluted.
Yeah. I didn't even
That was
think about that.
extreme.
Yeah, that was
I got,
very
I got
intense.
into the industrial side of that game and blueprints and
Oh, man, it's
original
nuts.
blueprints, and then you made blueprint copies,
that
and
you
you can
could
only
use
use
temporarily.
like a certain number of times to make a certain number of runs of a thing
Right.
to control like the economy in that game is so crazy.
It is
And-
the game.
Yeah, it is the game, and it's totally player run, and it's totally gets messed up by like huge events that happen.
Oh yeah, you
like,
have large groups of people that do
There is a cult in that world that seriously believes in destroying all transportation of products. And so they just
Their sole
attack
purpose is to kill transports.
Yeah, their sole purpose is to kill anybody mining and anybody transporting goods.
Yeah, those people are annoying as hell.
Yeah, what a bunch of
And
pirates.
I got back into the
Basically,
game
yeah.
for many months as like one of the because nobody was really doing anything. Everybody was just like, okay, this is part of the game now. These people are assholes, and nobody was doing anything. So
people gotta
people
rise
started
up.
forming like little pocket revolutions, like in areas, and I got into one, and it was like we would fight
Grassroots
the
campaign.
people that would utilize certain aspects. Like there's one ship that when you ran into somebody with it, you could send them off course enough so that they couldn't like warp. Like you
So
could
you were
do
warp
enough.
blocking people?
Yeah. They were basically blocking people from being able to warp away, so they could hold them hostage.
So it's
for
like
ransom.
the harpoon assholes in Archage.
Yeah.
those
It
buttholes.
was basically.
Oh, you're trying to go somewhere? I'm just gonna harpoon you.
Guess,
no
guess
reason.
what's really, really funny? Derailing everyone's day.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, buddy.
We're in the same faction, but I can harpoon your boat.
When you got into like the middle part of that, all I could think of was you talking about how you like randomly joined a quiet revolution, and it's just like you walk into a town and even someone's like hits you on the back and "Viva la revolution," and you're like, "Yes,
No, that's
we're
kind of
doing
what it was.
that."
I
know what I'm doing tonight.
I'm sure he just wanders into Mexico. And he's like, "Let's
it's
do
like
it."
it's like I walked into town. It's like I walked into town. I'm like, what's going on here?
Me amo one
And they're like, and they're all like, that's
It's
just,
a revolution, man.
that's
You're like,
just-
yeah.
that's just the way it is. And I'm like, it shouldn't be that
Somebody
way.
needs to stand up.
And then I'm
For a
like,
second, I thought you were saying like real dialogue from your experience. I hope that's
no,
what.
but no,
you
it sort of
exchanged-
is.
That's amazing.
And I was like,
What's
it's-
going on?
internal
This
monologue.
is how it is. That's such like
this
a
is just
narrative.
how it is. And that's really like this is just how it
Just
is.
talking in the
But it shouldn't be that way. Are there others who think like I do?
It's a way more productive.
Everyone in this bar.
And then I found somebody that thought like I did, and we met secretly. And we started talking, and then it really is insane. Like to the
That's
point
nuts.
that these cultish, crazy people, like it's really a cult. Like it's so
yeah,
absurd.
I believe it.
They so focus their effort in that game. Like that's the main thing that they're really excited about, and it's what their drive is.
And the guy that like leads them like puts out YouTube videos of like
Of their kills and stuff.
just like all stuff like about their kills and their successes and
Their propaganda.
just the complete
You
propaganda.
Join
got
the
into
cause.
propaganda machine?
And he
Join
does,
the cause.
and he does
On
it-
YouTube?
and I don't think it's really the guy himself because it's like some like really rich.
Wow, they hired somebody
rich,
to do it.
Yeah, like a rich voiced
There's
English
so much money thrown into
Englishman.
Eve.
Like they hired a voice actor to
Wow.
do this, to like be the voice of these people who, and
they called
who,
the Sons
who
of
are
Ares.
basically a big extortion. It's all extortion because like if you want to mine, you have to pay for like a mining fee.
See?
Like, it's like a protection.
It's like gangs, man, and their
Scheme.
protection money.
Wait,
It's
that
like
was
the
your
mafia.
that was the revolutionary squad you were a part of?
There was
'Cause
anti-mafia.
That sounds like the man.
No, I thought
No, he was
no,
anti
no,
you're
that.
fighting.
That's
Yeah.
what you're fighting.
That
Right.
was
Yeah,
fighting
yeah.
for-
Basic
and,
item.
and
Okay,
I was
gotcha.
like, what's going on? This is horrible. Like, this is not the Evide
This,
world.
where
I
are our
want.
natural rights? Like
Yeah.
you're pulling lockout.
mafia
And
took
I was
over.
Galente, and they are very much about individual freedoms.
So there you go.
And the Galente are basically like the libertarians of the.
They're also kind of
The galaxy.
pseudo-French.
Yeah, they were French too,
Oh,
which made
Well,
me.
what I think is interesting about that game is that you can buy Plex. Basically, you can buy in-game time, like game time, instead of with real money. You can buy it with in-game funds, and then sell those, month chunk of playtime. So everything is tied somewhat to real-world currency in a way.
Yeah.
So when in the event of like these big battles where people are losing like giant capital ships, like huge ships, and things are getting destroyed,
Yeah.
you can tie all of that value back to real world currency. And there have been battles where it's like
Losses
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, losses of
crazy.
thousands. And
That
They-
is insane.
It is insane.
They actually replicated that in WoW recently.
Did they?
I don't remember when they did it, but there's in-game tokens that you purchase for gold that are worth worth a month of subscription.
Oh man.
Really?
No. So you can actually
edition,
play
I
the
wasn't
game
aware
for
of.
free if you make enough gold.
Anyway,
Wow.
the last thing I want to say
Similar.
about my trip back into Eve, into the dark underworld of trying to create a
The
revolution.
seedy underworld.
Yeah, exactly.
It was insane because they had it's this crazy. They had people that were like sleeper agents,
Spies?
in these groups, upstart
Subterfuge?
groups, so that would feed back information about what they were doing. Like it was so ridiculous.
I mean,
This
That's-
takes economics and crafting
someone-
systems to a new level.
It does. Someone needs to write some sort of sociological
That's
article
impressive.
about how that's a simulacrum
really
of humanity.
Yeah, it
it
is.
really started messing with my head because like I'm talking with a guy over TeamSpeak who I is like the only person I think I can trust in this entire world. And
Dan's
really
sitting there in his underwear.
and we formed a
How do
group.
I know I can trust you?
We actually
Some Cuban prison.
we formed a group and we started adding people, and then we started, and you can actually
So
get
it's
their API key and like investigate like,
Right.
their past things.
It's
that
like
they've
quasi
done.
Facebook stalking in
Yeah,
Eve.
and so you could look through all of their like transactions and where they've been and conversations, even if they give you that an API key with that information.
Right.
Wow, that's invasive.
Yeah, and
Part of the application process.
and like we would vet
very
these
formal.
people and bring.
Wow,
them
you got
in.
into the bureaucracy.
Well, yeah, because we couldn't have people coming in that were going to be spies for.
That's right.
To
You
fight
took
the
out the
man, you
cons-
got to be the man.
I love it.
And then within the revolution, there were those who were like, "Do we kill the miners who decide to buy into this
Wow.
scheme?"
Real moralizing.
I know
It's a debate.
it was insane. They were like, "Do we kill the people that buy into this thing by paying into the protection money?"
No.
Or but there were people who were like, if we want to take them down, we gotta
Cut off their funding.
we gotta cut off their funding. We gotta scare the miners to not buy into their bullshit because it's how they get their money to fund these raids where they basically drop in 20 catalysts which can take out a giant freighter.
But
like
then you're
obelisk.
just you're becoming another version of a douchebag.
I know.
You're becoming the monster you're
insane.
Do we want to
fighting.
kill the miners to stop it, or kill the
I
miners
know.
to get them to pay for
And that's
for
the
stuff? I don't
whole
know.
thing. So-
Also, does the means justify the ends? Are
Yes.
you really the heroes
The-
here?
I know.
Are
Save
you?
the
It
miners
was-
by killing all the miners.
It
Come
was
on.
real, like it was an existential crisis for
It-
like 3
yeah.
months.
Then you
and then I was
flew
like,
into the sun.
and then I lost like a ship that cost me a lot, and I was like,
Dan's in his
I'm
computer
done.
chair, just letting his capital
It's like
fly
saying
into
we're
the sun.
we're
Yeah.
really angry about miner extortion, so
can't
we're going to
take
kill all the miners, so there's no more miner extortion.
Yeah,
Jeez.
no, we didn't want to do that, but there were
Seriously.
people who did. So you try to work with these people, and then you're
Then
like,
Civil War broke out.
and so
Tenuous
you have
alliances.
people with different views on it coming together, trying to.
Good Lord.
They all have different. It was a really amazing microcosm of like.
Sounds like a really
International-
stressful video game
It
experience.
does. It really does.
It was. I was so happy when my ship blew up that cost me so much money that I was just
I'm
like,
done.
Freedom.
I was like, I'm never coming back. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out of this world. And
That's scary to me.
my
a little.
ship,
Yeah.
the ship,
like
that,
on a large level.
the ship that got blown up,
A little on a large
Was-
A
level.
little on a large level.
the ship
Outside
got blown
the
up
game.
by a guy who was like a notorious dude, and my ship was named
Cletus.
like, you can lick my balls. That guy's
Oh,
name.
That guy deserved it.
Yeah.
So he didn't like
whatever
that.
pain. I'm all about people doing what they want to do to be happy. That's important. But
Yeah.
that seems like a large amount of wasted virtual brain power.
I know.
Like, could we feed many more people with those people doing productive things in the real world? Because
I know.
that's
Like,
pretty complex thought there.
yeah. I mean,
A couple hours of mining and, and WoW
maybe
is
not.
a bit different.
Maybe
than-
they're actually really bad at it, which is why they're in the game doing stuff like that.
yeah.
Which is the hope, I suppose.
yeah.
Well, I mean, they're
It was
nothing
so
gets
weird.
super
Total extremes.
philosophical, but you can't expect people to be who you want them
CIA
to be.
agents
And when you look at yourself,
terrorists.
like, I mean, we're not super productive, perfect people either. So
Oh,
it's like-
absolutely, it's true.
I contribute a lot to society, but well, I would
Not in
say
your
a lot,
downtime.
but I do my part.
Right, right.
you
But
don't
I
want
also
to, you don't have to.
But
Well,
we're also
I mean, and it's
hardcore gamers.
true.
so-
It's only in the Eve context, though. I mean, because Eve is notorious for that, and the only person I've known other than you guys who've played Eve, but I don't think you guys are at this level. I mean, this kid was studying Roman military history. That was his doctorate in order to apply it to the guild he ran in Eve, because that was what he considered his primary priority in life.
They are real social
like,
constructs.
I sat down with him numerous times over a beer to talk that out and say, like, dude, like, I'm worried about your virtual life. He's like, I'm choosing that to be my life. This is like the
supporting
means
that. Wow.
Helping.
Did I meet this person?
No, he wasn't a big social guy because he was too busy managing the fleets. He was a big he was
the president.
And it was probably involved in that battle I was talking about.
Well, this would have been in the late 2000s, and he was a very.
Yep.
He tried to explain it to me, and I think maybe I did mention it to you, and you're like, "Wow, that's like one of the big ones." And it was like he's it.
Yeah,
he's kind of a
one
big
of
deal.
one of the high up guys who died in Benghazi.
Yeah,
I heard about
was
that.
An Eve.
Was pretty well known.
Was high up.
There were a lot
of
jokes that's why he died.
It was a hit.
Yeah,
it was a hit.
Eve-related hit.
An Eve-related hit.
God, Lord. That would be a good short story.
That's crazy.
Some
video game related.
Well, it's basically Ready Player One. Never mind.
Oh, stolen.
Wah, wah, wah.
By a better writer.
Ernest.
Ernst. What?
Ernest.
What's that?
I'm not gonna ask because it might be a spoiler.
For Ready Player One?
Oh, okay.
It's a video game related book, sort of. It's good.
I haven't.
Oh,
but
you should
I
totally.
want to play it.
Totes.
I would love to
Play
weigh
it,
in on
read
some
it,
of this
it.
favorite crafting systems.
Say what?
Back to that.
Yeah,
Because I do
What
have
were we
some that we
talking
haven't talked
Crafting
about.
economy.
I think we
move it off
covered
the
the
wall.
favorites. We need to go into the negatives though.
Well, I want to mention that I really liked, even though it was another basic one, was The Old Republic. I mean, I really felt a lot of satisfaction from building a lightsaber.
Yeah.
I felt a lot of satisfaction
yeah.
building guns.
And the gathering was nice because all you did was just tell people to go get stuff for you.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice
a little
touch.
delegation, right?
It cost you a little bit of money, but
Having-
you made it back.
And you could gather.
Having multiple
you had the
companions served a purpose. They weren't
Right.
just. You didn't just have a harem of friends that was just like, "Hey, buddy, how about you come out with me today?" And they're like, "Yeah."
And everybody else just stay on the ship and do nothing.
Right.
Like, you ever think about Pokemon? That is just
Sometimes.
slavery.
That is just slavery.
Yeah, it's animal cruelty.
It's so. They're like, "Oh, I love you so much, Pikachu. Why don't you live in this ball where you're like just in digital form until I let you come out to get hit by fire and flame, and put you back in, and then some.
It's like cockfighting.
Yeah, they're cockfighting.
It's virtual cockfighting.
It's
In
virtual
some cases
cockfighting.
it is
Yeah.
literally cockfighting.
Yeah.
That is one of the expansions for Fallout 4. Were you aware of that? I don't know the full
Pokemon?
parameters of it, but it's you can capture and tame animals to have them fight in an arena. It is
awesome
the
in
same
Fallout
thing
4.
you just condemned,
Yeah,
but
I-
it is kind of awesome.
I'm a complex man.
There's many shades
Context
to
matters.
this discussion.
That is
Yeah.
a horrifying world.
Well,
so
speaking of
better,
Fallout 4.
better.
Yeah. See,
So-
in the world of Pokemon, what they're doing is aberrant.
right.
But
'Cause that's a very
in
flowery
the world
world.
of Fallout, it's like, all right, yeah,
Yeah, well, it's
would
better.
happen.
It's
fitting.
better. Maybe you have two mole rats fight than like Kate on drugs in the combat zone, right? At least it's not people.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, animals don't have souls. Who cares?
I like
Irradiated animals, that is.
That got you.
Dog meat definitely has a soul.
That was
Gone
a,
deep.
Dan definitely looked off.
Had to think.
That was
I
thinking.
like to think they have souls.
Yeah, I mean, the ones I
gentle
that was just a
creatures.
random.
I know.
The ones I like
my-
have souls,
they're my
okay?
reactions.
Yeah, exactly. The ones I like.
The ones I like have souls.
Dirty
Don't
rats
care
don't
Shut
have
about
your
souls.
dirty mouth.
Well, Fallout 4 is a good thing. I wanted to bring that up eventually because Skyrim, as you said, is kind of simple. And on the worst topics, you actually already covered that one.
That's true.
Because you didn't like that one too much. But Fallout 4,
Yeah, I wouldn't say
Well
worst
enough.
for Skyrim.
Neutral.
I just didn't. It didn't impress me.
give it a strong neutral.
A true neutral.
True
Ooh,
neutral.
Arcade 2.
Ooh.
Love
yeah.
that. Love that song composition. We talked
But
about
that, of all games, that is the most grind heavy.
Yeah, it's all crafting.
Well, no, I mean,
Well,
for
it's
just
not, but
to
it
level
feels
up your crafting just takes forever.
Picking cucumbers every 40 seconds.
Oh, yeah. So
Agree.
much farming.
It
You need 1
was-
billion points to get anywhere.
It was a really good set. It was a well set up system.
It just drains your soul.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does.
to drain your soul and start
Oh man.
and start making you ask questions like why?
Why am I doing
I
this?
think
Why am I doing this?
I think it would be more appropriate if it were a multiplayer game, because the fact that it's single player, you put in all that time and effort, but you don't get to share it with anyone. If that makes sense.
What do you mean, Skyrim or Fallout, or you're talking
No,
about Arcade?
Fallout.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
We were talking about Arcade.
Oh,
Yeah, we were talking about.
But
okay.
yes.
I just
I
stuck
gotcha.
it in there in the middle of the Fallout.
Yeah.
I got thrown
farming
off.
and everything. No, but
you're
Fallout,
right
I think,
with Fallout.
is a lot more complicated than Skyrim in terms of crafting.
Right.
Mhm.
And I
agree
think
with
it was good. But you're saying that the downside is that you can't share with anybody, which is so true
Well,
of
I
all
think it's
single-player
very time
games.
consuming, and which is I personally don't mind that, but
Right.
but I guess with the settlements, so I got really excited about the settlements once I dove into it, and I was like, this is way more than I thought, because I had originally said that I wasn't even gonna mess with
Yeah.
that at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but mess with it, and then it just became
kinda
this
just have
massive
to.
scope, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I just want this is all I want to do.
Now
gone
you
too
know.
far.
Now you understand where I was.
Sure.
Where everything, my
Yeah.
entire
Let
100
me tell you about
hours
Fallout 4
was-
and all my people.
I mean,
was caring for the people of the wasteland.
right?
Didn't even get to play the game, hardly.
But then after like 6 hours of it, I'm like, I wish I could bring the guys into this and have them like
Right.
walk around my settlement, but I
Right.
can't
Check
do
this out.
that. And then I'm just like, so I don't want to do this
I'm
anymore.
going to go
Yeah,
kill some super
yeah.
mutants.
No,
It's
I
fine.
know what you mean. I know what you mean.
It's like
Yeah.
I'm playing this game because I want to know the story and I want to experience the story. I'm not playing it to
Appease these people who
To
have
build-
like 3 lines in the game.
to build up a bunch of settlements that I'm not going to do anything with.
It's
But
nice
in an
if you can get
MMO
'em-
with my
yeah.
ego, I
Yeah.
want to make the coolest shit, and I want people to be impressed with what I
and
have.
be able to make stuff for other people in your group and stuff. It's,
Right.
It's great.
Yeah. To me, there's nothing better than a good co-op game experience, because I absolutely love being able to do things to make the game more fun for other people. Like,
Yeah, that shared
but-
experience.
by just sharing the experience. Here's a buff that helps you do this. That's awesome. Makes it more fun. Here's an item I can make for you that does this. Like, a good co-op game is the pinnacle of gaming to me, because it combines being able to play with your friends, like having individuality when you do it too. Like, if all your characters have different strengths and weaknesses,
Yeah.
then you can
Not
you
just
can then be
a
like,
bunch of
hey,
fat
look
shits
what I
running
can
around.
do, and everybody's like, oh,
Right.
that's friggin' sweet, and then it's like, oh, I can do this, and
And it's
Any
great because it
game
takes
like
a
that-
game where it's big like that, where there's so many classes and everything, but you get to experience a lot of it that you're doing one thing, but you get to see your friends doing all these other
Right.
things, and they're sharing information with you, so
Yeah.
you get to learn so much about the game, even
Right.
though you're not
Yeah.
replaying
Yeah.
it 20 times, which
that
is nice.
games like that are the pinnacle of gaming to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
Which is like in
Makes sense.
Tor, how you could, tag along with somebody when they're doing their class quest and pick up a little bit of a flavor of what it's
Yeah.
like to be
That's a good point.
X other character
That was
class,
really nice.
which was awesome.
I think
Because there's so many stories, and if you want to just tag along with their starter stuff and figure out what's going on, you can
Yeah.
kind of figure it out.
I think part of it, I think all of us would agree that multiplayer is more enjoyable in the long run. If you look at all the games you've played, more of the multiplayer ones stand out as enjoyable.
Right.
And it's weird to me because I, for one, am not a super social person. I mean, I have my close knit group of friends, but I don't hang out with a bunch of people. I don't go to
Yeah.
bars, or I don't do that.
Social butterfly
Um,
syndrome.
but human beings as a species are very social.
Yeah, we
I
need
mean,
it a little.
Yeah.
we need
Yeah.
that, and our brains play off of that, and
Tribes.
so as much as I
Families.
like, I'll consider there was a long time where I considered myself very much a shut in and wouldn't go out. I'd go to work, I'd come home, and I'd just play video games.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm playing with people, and
Yeah.
I'm experiencing things with people. I'm having conversations with people. Just because it's in a virtual world doesn't mean that I'm not being social.
Yeah,
For sure.
And it adds a lot that when voice over internet, Ventrilo and whatnot,
Right,
and,
right.
for others, TeamSpeak
That-
and what have you, kind of came in.
Ventrilo was one of the, I think, the biggest thing that kept us. Like, the reason why we're right now able to sit here and talk to each other,
even though we
as
went off in
friends,
different places.
Yep.
is because of something like Ventrilo.
It was
is
huge.
because
Right.
we
It's true.
Ventrilo and MMOs, like, we were able to get together virtually, have a ton of fun,
Pursue goals.
pursue goals.
Looks real nice. I like that shirt.
I know.
I just
It
noticed
does look like a very
it looks
soft
like
shirt.
It looks like a shirt that's a sweater. It's
Yeah.
I like it. And the
It's-
double
it
pops.
It looks comfy.
yeah.
Nice. Dan's
You've
wearing
been holding off for the
Dan's
last
No,
hour
I just
wanting to
noticed
pop
it,
in
and
the
then I was like, "This is
Dear
happening."
listener, if you go to Old Navy, you can find.
Everyone, Dan's wearing a nice shirt right now. It's real nice.
But
Sorry.
anyway, like it kept us close.
Yeah.
It was great. I really enjoyed it because I felt like I got on my computer and I was back home with my friends, and then got off and the computer, and then I was on campus and going out with my other friends on campus to do
Yeah.
college things or whatever.
Yeah,
By
you got
college
something to
things,
do
you
to
mean
keep in time.
drinking, and more drinking.
The usual debauchery. I think
Policies.
you guys you're touching on one of the main reasons that gaming culture has gained so much traction in the past decade. It's because finally the gamers are voicing all of these positive aspects and benefits of gaming. One of which I think is core
Definitely.
is the socialization that's inherent to gaming, even if it's not a multiplayer game. I mean, if you go to a con or something, or you're in a place where you notice someone with a shirt or whatever, that is a huge interest starting point for forging a relationship or talking to someone even in small talk, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's like why Felicia Day, for example, that's one of her biggest arguments, and I think that's why she's gained so much popularity
For
in the,
gaming,
in the
you mean?
movement for gaming
Yeah.
and its positive benefits to society. I love it. I mean, I think that's great.
It's like when I wear an Oregon Trail T-shirt that I have, and like random people come up and start talking to me like, "Hey,
right.
that's awesome! I love that game. Great shirt."
I have a water bottle with the Zelda
Oh, yeah.
Triforce on it, and that is huge.
Isn't
Like
it-
people are just like, "Oh, we're friends now."
Yeah.
It's like,
Isn't it great?
You're a
Common.
stranger, but
Isn't
I
it
do want to
great
talk
that
about
we
Zelda.
share this one thing that our like completely separate life paths have a connection in. Here we are, and we see it. And
It's
yeah,
great. It's beautiful. thing.
Wow, I just want to walk to somebody with an algae and be like, "You drink water too?"
Right? How many other commonalities can I have? You
That's
got
one.
teeth?
Wow, you
I use
breathe
them
air.
to chew. Yeah, no.
So do
there's
I.
many. But it's great
is
because
neat.
I mean there is something appealing about exclusivity too, and that I mean maybe gaming is opening up to a lot of people these days, and some people are resentful of that. But I can't go to a lot of people who usually surround me, say at work, right, and say and like hold up the Triforce and be like, "Hey,
Let's geek out."
Like, what was your experience at the stable in Ocarina? Don't you love that song?" They'd be like, "What are you talking about? Like, are you crazy? Like, why do you work here?"
Did you go?
Like,
Did you go?
I'm actually the one judging you.
Did you
You're
go
not
to
allowed
the
to judge me.
windmill and just sit there and listen to the rain song for hours on end? It was beautiful.
It's like,
With
no,
the
I played Moo
chickens
Cow Farm on my
running.
phone and Bejeweled, and I was happy
Chickens running
in the
around,
bathroom. You're like, you don't get it.
Oh man,
just running through the
Bejeweled.
Gerudo Valley, just enjoying
understood that.
the zest.
wow, you were there.
You're just on
like
your
you were there just
tangent.
now,
I was.
You just
Yeah, I
teleported
like that.
into a video game. See, that's the power.
man. You were seeing it.
That's the power of love.
That's the power of love.
I'm Huey Lewis,
Yeah.
and you just heard the news.
I just sang you the news.
That whole thing. Well, I actually have a question.
That's actually what he says at the end of all of his sets.
yeah.
Really? That's awesome.
I
Did not know that.
I have a question about the Fallout 4 crafting system. Kind of your opinions on this. So
Is this on settlement building? Because I was
It is
also
not.
talking about mods.
it is mods.
Okay,
actually,
good.
that's it.
Because that's huge.
It's interesting how the Skyrim system and the Fallout 4 systems are somewhat in versions of each other. Because whereas in Skyrim you get to actually make the weapons and the armor that you
Yes.
use, in Fallout you only get to modify things that you find, which may have
Good
been a
point.
reaction to the criticism we brought up earlier about like why even have all this crafting if we can't use the items we find because they're not as good, right?
You've just gone into a world that I want to talk about that I didn't even think about.
Is it a world
Okay,
of Warcraft?
perfect.
Oh,
That's
man.
great.
Which is
So
the difference
I-
inherently between those games.
Right.
Not only from what you're talking about, I think, in why technically they went in that technical direction on just a video game system front,
Yeah.
but also in how it works between like what you
The
had to
setting.
do the setting
Yeah, agree.
of like a fantasy
Have
historical
have we
medieval
talked about
setting.
this on the pod? We may have
No,
talked.
no, we talked
Okay.
about it outside the podcast, you and I. But
Oh, okay.
um,
It's just the nature of the yeah. I think it's a good point.
versus post-apocalyptic fine scavenge game. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to go sit down at a forge with an ingot and make stuff in
Right.
post-apocalyptic world. You're going to scrounge and find and slap stuff together
Piece
with
it together.
adhesive and duct tape.
Right.
And I think that's inherently from a story and setting feel of the game. Really, they did that right for both
I agree
games.
completely. It's a
Absolutely.
great point.
Yeah.
I really like what Fallout did, and even in the somewhat recently, I've been playing it kind of a lot, really exploring some of the depth of it, and I'm impressed at how I'm still not at a relatively. I mean, I'm not too high of a level, but like in the 30s, I still haven't reached the depth of the modding at all.
It's
Right.
very deep.
And it gets like really powerful at the high levels. My musket has 5 rotations I can do on it, and if
You're
I'm
still cranking that musket, huh?
it kills everything in one shot. Like it's better than any
It
weapon
is
I
super
can possibly
powerful.
get. It's nuts.
But I mean,
It's amazing.
hand crank? Come on.
I know it's just kind of charming because it's
It
a
is charming.
it's a
such a
ninja.
charming guy.
I'm playing a ninja character, so all I need is one shot.
Yeah, you just
know?
need that one
Yeah.
hit.
And if they come in for the real thing, all my specs are in melee. So guess what? Welcome to the show.
Bring it on in.
The butt of your musket.
I like that. I really like
Yeah,
that.
it's very fun. But
Welcome to the
I
show.
do wish though that I could make weapons. I mean, those pipe weapons
Oh,
are
yeah,
scavenger
from
weapons,
scratch.
right?
Yeah,
I wish
they're
I could
basically
make a
like-
pipe weapon. I'd like that.
So you find a pipe and you find some scrounge stuff and then you make it yourself and
Yeah.
then you mod it.
You
There'd
still
be
need-
something to that. Yeah.
You still need the same materials.
Yeah.
They just need to throw in a pipe thing, pipes.
yeah,
Although I don't need anything else to collect in that game.
that's true.
That's
it's already
very
deep
true.
Let's
enough.
replace
I think
folders with pipes.
yeah.
You know, I just
folders.
I just had a revelation on a game with crafting before. I think any of the ones we mentioned.
Yes. Get it?
Did you ever play the Home Alone 2 video game?
Oh my gosh, I did not.
No.
And
No?
I just
Oh,
I'm
I
already
don't think I
Anyone?
did, but that
No?
sounds really.
How
oh
is
my
it that
God.
It makes sense.
You would, and it didn't like
traps and stuff.
It wouldn't give you a list of items that you needed to put together to create things. Like you had to experiment and come up with things, but
That's
you'd put
cool.
like an ice cream scoop with like snowballs and
Wow.
whatever, and you're just like launching snowballs all of a sudden.
That's
Was this
great.
like
You'd
was
make
this Sega
traps,
Genesis?
you'd make weapons. Yeah, it was Sega Genesis.
Oh, see,
How is it that in one day we get 2 Home Alone 2 references?
this is fantastic.
What a magical
What was
day.
the other reference?
Earlier in the hangout, we, or I guess I did it. I posted the Donald,
Donald
Trump,
Trump.
appearance
I didn't miss
in
that.
Home Alone
The
2.
I was
cameo,
so busy.
the
The
Trump
cameo.
cameo.
Oh God,
Because
Trump.
he runs into him in the lobby of the hotel, and he asks for directions or something, and then it's Trump who's
Oh, it was the
there.
hotel. Yeah.
hilarious.
Fun
Crazy.
times.
But yeah,
Old
that
movies.
game was ahead of
That's
its time.
great. Well done. What was that on?
Genesis.
Sega? Yeah.
You know,
Nice.
leave it to Genesis to have all the crazy.
It
awesome
was
really
games.
awesome.
good. Really
You
good.
would-
The
you would-
Michael Jackson game.
It was a-
Phil Collins.
It was such
Phil
a great game.
Collins, Shaq Fu.
Oh man, if you can find a
Shaq
mod for
Fu.
it, or
I'm gonna bring that up every
No,
podcast.
man.
we should
Shaq Fu.
we should do like a retro night where we play Home Alone 2 because
I agree.
We should have a
I
Sega devoted
firmly
night.
believe
Yeah.
that would probably hold up to the time.
I
it was
no
a great
longer
game.
have my Genesis because it's
Paint cans.
gone somewhere.
Yeah.
But I have a RetroPie.
Hey,
True.
I didn't lose that.
You
in
didn't lose
Mexico.
that. I lost that myself. I lost it for myself.
I've
I
lost
also
a lot
did
of
not
Joe's
lose
stuff
that
in
in
Mexico.
Yeah.
That was one of.
Here, borrow all my stuff and dump it in Mexico. Thanks. It's my life experience.
Oh,
Was
my.
that part of when you were working for the CD Underground?
Yeah, that was the Revolution days.
Just he's running Plex down the border.
We had to make trade.
Oh man. Well, I gotta give it. I before we
I like the
transition
mod
into
system.
random question or whatever we're going to next.
We're about there.
I gotta say 7 Days is
Oh,
a really
That's a great one.
really good crafting
that's
game.
gonna go into the whole like Minecraft movement.
It is. It's that
like that
sand
whole
that
sandboxy
other level
craft.
of sandbox crafting.
Right.
Yeah.
Just sandbox in general is a term.
Put
really,
stuff in the box and mix it.
I don't
together.
like how it's used. Like GTA is a sandbox because it's an open world, as in you have many
Right.
spaces to go. But I don't think that sandbox is where you build and you have basic
Yeah.
raw materials to
Manipulate
create.
everything.
Yeah,
Right?
GTA's open world. Sandbox is a different beast.
And I don't
Yeah.
like that people describe it as sandbox. I don't think that fits
I think
well.
it's- the term is misapplied.
I agree.
It's
Yeah.
the thing. It's the same thing you get when you get like
fringes.
where you
We've
have
had
like,
arguments about this, like MOBAs versus arena PvP, where like I feel I have a semantic issue, and then
yeah,
you and Ben tell me the way it is, and you're
The
usually
way it
right.
is.
yeah. I mean,
Ben's always right.
there's-
Ben is
there's
pretty right all the
Studies
time.
this extensively.
Ben is the master of the semantics of these things. But it's just one of those things where you'll get a term and then it becomes popularized.
Yeah.
People just throw it around
some way, and
willy-nilly.
it get-
Right.
Like, people say antisocial, like to mean somebody who's like, doesn't want to talk with a group, or when antisocial actually means they have no regard for the rules of society and kill people mercilessly. like the real antisocial.
Didn't know that.
Sociopathy.
It is like real antisocial is like a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
But it's the pop culture
Right. It's the misapplication of the term.
term. I don't even remember.
Well, anyway, 7 days is super cool because, like Witcher or any other game we said, you can play 7 days and probably not craft, but I can't imagine how boring that game would
Oh
be.
God, no! I don't think you could.
I mean,
You
could
start
just
off in
hide
your
the-
underwear with nothing.
Just go hide in the barn loft and pick up some shirts and stuff.
I guess you could.
Yeah.
The ultimate.
I
survival.
actually kind of want to start that game without trying to. You couldn't make. At this point, you couldn't stay warm or like make a fire.
Right. The
or
changes.
You couldn't make food.
Right. The changes would definitely make that probably.
You'd have to eat.
But you could
raw
like
eggs and meat.
theoretically, you could scavenge everything you need.
Oh, you can eat cans of food.
I mean, getting raw materials like wood and coal is
As long as you're okay
rough.
with like if you run out of water and then you have to drink out of a river, you're gonna get like diphtheria or something.
yeah,
You're
you're alive.
Gonna get diarrhea for a couple
Chamomile
days.
tea.
Your stamina is gonna be down, but
Chamomile
whatever.
tea.
But that game
true.
continues to impress me in the way that they build up the crafting system. There are so many recipes, so much license for creativity. Really good crafting
Yeah.
game.
I'm glad to hear that they're still
Oh
adding
God.
a bunch
It's
of that.
still alpha.
Because that's the
early.
way it should
If you-
be.
if
Early
you
access
played it again-
should be the money that they get should be put into the game.
Right.
And
Um,
They're
they
really
do.
good about
They've
it.
expanded the team and they've
Yeah.
grown their company and the game
That's
to be
nice.
what they
The
want it to
funny-
be.
That would be
getting
another
there.
night I would call for, where in addition to Home Alone 2 and any other Sega Genesis game and or retro game, I mean, maybe just boot up a new game and see what it's like with all the changes as a
Yeah.
foursome and
I
see.
haven't
those-
played it.
Yeah, because you haven't played it
very
in a long
recently
time.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be a totally different game for you
It-
at this
yeah,
point.
sin- entirely.
Since we're talking about this genre, recently I gave The Long Dark
Oh yeah,
a chance, and I really like it. It's
Sounds
just
vaguely sexual for some reason.
survival crafting games is what. this
yeah,
genre is,
it's
right?
just it's purely survival. Like you've crash landed in northern Canada, and there's some places with some resources, and you just need to stay alive.
Yeah,
That's
And
pretty
it's-
awesome.
It's got a really cool atmospheric tone to it. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. You've got thirst, hunger, energy, like caloric intake, like how many calories doing something expends.
Wow, that's kind of extreme.
Yeah, and how warm you are, and you have clothes that you find and clothes that you have to repair, and time is a resource. So like you'll have a torch and you'll use that to go explore an area, but like if you want to break down this thing for usable like firewood,
Do you
your
actually
tor-
have to do that for a certain amount of time?
no, but it'll say it'll bring up a thing that says like this will take 10 minutes and cost this many calories of energy.
Oof.
Do you want to do it? And you do it, and like maybe your torch goes up or something like that.
Can you do you improve?
Yeah, you can improve.
So you like gain the ability to have strength and more caloric expenditure and stuff like that.
From what I've seen, you gain abilities in certain areas because like lighting a fire has some odds to it. Like depending on what you're using, you get a percentage chance that you're going to light it.
Yeah.
You improve
Wet wood.
in being able
You
to
get
start
better.
a fire.
That's cool. That's a neat idea.
Yeah.
You improve in cooking certain things. You improve in fishing, being able to fish.
Dane just got sucked
Wow.
right in.
Any game with fishing.
And
Fishing and cooking
to fish.
sold.
Are there anything called deviant
One of my favorite
delight?
things in arcade.
And
Can you train one-handed?
And to,
What's-
to fish, you actually need to.
Can I turn into a wolf to run to the next lagoon?
It's really cool, like the way that you need to get things, because it's just
Or a
it's
manatee.
it's you against nature, and you need to kill a beast or find a beast that's been killed, and harvest its internal organs to make string.
Sinew?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for
Make your bowstring.
for your,
Oh God, don't do that
for
to
your
me.
fishing line and stuff like that, and then find.
Nice. There's no cotton plantations.
This is very deep.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever play Rust? Anybody?
no,
Rust is in there. I don't know. There's a lot of cool
No.
games. Don't Starve is another one, right?
Yeah, I was thinking Don't
There's some
Starve.
really
Yeah,
good-
Don't
which I
Starve-
kept thinking
Don't
Don't
Starve-
Die, but I couldn't remember the name.
I really wanted to try
Same
Don't
thing.
Starve Together. 'Cause
It was
that's-
I
I
fun.
played it once. I think it was a good time. It was about the same thing, and I quickly moved on to something else. I think, but
Yeah.
good game. Are we ready?
Oh,
Our quadded
quadded.
random question
All right.
of the day.
My Arquadded is
Eh.
you could think of it as hackneyed. It's big, it's grandiose, it's a very broad thing.
Nice.
If you had to choose, like, your perfect protagonist,
I thought you were going to go with Sunday. What is your perfect Sunday? Sorry, go ahead.
In any narrative?
would you prefer a kind of triumphant goody two shoes all American hero kind of guy,
Right.
or an anti-hero?
I don't know if I would describe All-American Hero as a goody two-shoe, but
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well,
You believe in justice and
I'm
equal
going that route.
rights.
I'm thinking of like
all the
I'm thinking of like a paladin,
right,
Like
yeah,
yeah, it's like lawful good versus
yeah,
chaotic
lawful
good.
good. Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
all about lawful good, and I think I've commented on before.
Captain America.
It's something that's
That was what I was kind of thinking.
it's something
versus
that's
Deadpool.
unrealistic and doesn't exist. But
Why not
I
strive
wish
for
it
an
did.
ideal?
I wish it did because it should.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
I don't fully I'm not trying to sit here and say that I'm a great good person. I do horrible things. Well, not horrible things. I've done bad things in my life.
Look,
I've done things.
I've
made poor decisions.
we all said
I've
we
hurt
wouldn't talk
people's
about
feelings.
burning of the
Yeah.
children.
But not the British.
Not the
children.
British. It was the British.
It was the British
It
children.
was the
We would
British children.
save them, but not the British. Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Except for them.
So we didn't.
All but not
it-
equal to British.
It's something I wish I wish that I could be, and I think that's why I enjoy,
Always strive for
enjoy that,
perfection.
you know,
I dig
Yeah,
it. I dig it.
I respect that
I think
point
that's-
of view.
I have a tendency to be very hard on myself, and I think that might be why. Is because I just hold on to that ideal of just this paragon of justice, and
And you'll never reach it.
you'll
'cause
never
It's impossible.
Yeah, can't.
You can do it.
Human being, you just
But it's about the journey, Jarv.
keep
About
trying.
the effort.
Yeah.
That's the
Step at a
road you
time.
walk.
Yeah,
You're right though. If more people thought like that, it would be a much different world. You know?
That's right. Well,
So that's yeah.
I think this is an interesting question because there's that which is inherently comes from a place where I'm guessing that a lot of what comes to that character is going to be nature versus nurture kind of thing. Like if you're just born into a situation where you have all these troubles and trials and tribulations and everything, you might not come out being, this perfect pinnacle person. But if you've got this like troubled past, but you're trying to be better, then you might end up as that dark anti-hero. And there is something, great and poetical about that.
That
is
yeah.
like they
Redemption story.
saw, it is the redemption story. Exactly. So there's the, I want to be good and I started off pretty good, but I'm getting better and I'm the best there can be. And I'm a pinnacle of paragon virtue. And then there's
Right.
the like, I've done some bad shit, but I want to be
Yeah.
better kind of thing.
Right.
There's pros to both.
Charming
and
bad boy.
cons to
Yeah.
both, What
I
ends
mean,
what ends up with a deeper story?
Here's a
though, I
question:
guess,
Is
more
is Malcolm
engaging.
Reynolds an anti-hero?
He is somebody who was
He's
sort of
chaotic
like
good.
he was
Yeah,
sort
I
of a
would agree.
paladin. I mean, and even he was at the very beginning of the story. He believed in religion. He believed in good and above all things, and thought the right thing will end up triumphing. Like it will be triumphant in the end. And then he sort of falls
into the scoundrel.
Yeah, into the scoundrel, but
It
still
flirts with the
believes
line.
somewhat that
Yeah.
good can happen if you try hard enough. But
So what
he's
would
sort
that
of
be considered? in
disgruntled.
Rogue.
know.
He's a rogue.
Yeah.
Chaotic good. I think Dan's right with chaotic good.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
He'll.
He's a big
at
damn
least,
hero, is what he is.
Yeah, he is.
Well, he does kind of fall by the wayside of, I tried to be this good, epic, amazing, make the change that I want to see in the world kind of thing. But that all failed epically. And then now I'm just going to do the best I can for myself and those I care about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone else
He,
be damned.
he scaled it down.
But he
greatly.
like all these situations would come up in the story to like bring out that inner, okay, I have to make the right decision because that's
Right.
part of my moral character.
we could
Like
start,
I have to give the drugs back because these people are all going to die.
We could
Yeah.
start a whole podcast.
I-
Nishka's
about
probably
that.
want to kill me.
We
But
can
yeah,
and we should.
13, about 13 episodes.
I think
13 episode
intro
series.
to episode 19 and through 78, the Firefly series.
5 and 6. I think Joss and the writers, and then also obviously Nathan Fillion in his acting, they could have
yeah.
taken it into anti-hero. I mean, he had the character base to take the path,
and the impetus.
but the way,
and
the way he ended up characterizing as in the narrative of Firefly was very much that chaotic good scoundrel looking out for
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
social connections he had with his crew really kind of took him away from the cold sort of do whatever he needs to. The very
Right.
Rorschach-y Wolverine at any cost.
Yeah,
I'll do
what
what
he
I want.
what he
Right.
wanted to be and what he probably would be if he didn't care about other people.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he,
Even Jane doesn't achieve it. Like he has redemptive stuff, but
Yeah.
he ends up kind of becoming a softie. I think
Sometimes.
he's
Softer.
softer. Yeah,
He did try
Well,
to betray them.
Yeah.
He's more apt.
he threw a dude out of a plane for weight
Yeah.
instead of money.
Yeah.
He's more apt
Stitch?
to stray
Hitchens?
from the
He is. Yeah,
the good
there
role.
there isn't really
and
an
he,
anti-hero
and he
in the story.
might make mistakes and just foolishly,
Yeah,
give turn his back on comrades and
right.
and
Well-
get
Yeah.
taught a lesson.
Yeah.
Hard lesson.
To generally answer this, I think
I love that
I was
show.
leaning towards what your response was, Joe. That was what I could. I mean, the blending is always a complex character, right?
Right.
Which adds to the depth of the narrative. I think this question very much depends on the context
True.
as well.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I think I tend to lean towards. I like growth in characters. I like seeing
Yes.
somebody grow, even if it's growing more convictive in their righteousness,
Right.
as like a lawful good might, or falling away from it only to regain it. That's something about that is really appealing, especially for a lawful good type character. But I really like people who don't jeopardize their convictions. I mean, they have justice is a very important thing to me.
Right.
So, someone like a Rorschach,
Yeah.
Right.
is super
everything you're
one of the
saying
best
to me, like,
characters.
is Rorschach. I love Rorschach just because he embodies the commitment to his core values
Yeah.
that people wish they could have. Like he dies.
Yeah, he
for his-
chooses his values.
He has to die.
He has to
There's
die.
nothing else to do. Like
Yeah,
he's been part of a monstrosity,
yeah,
and
he
it's
knows he can't defeat,
He
You
knows
know.
he can't defeat him.
but he stands up and says, "Just kill me because I'm gonna try anyways."
done. Yeah,
gonna
I'm
be-
gonna
yeah.
fight you. So now's the
He's
time.
like, "What are you
Yeah.
waiting for? Do it."
Right.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
great. But this is not
Intense.
an adequate answer. What I'm about to say, but I do believe it. I think you need both. I mean, I think the world rests on foils, and
Right.
Oh, yeah.
you can't appreciate the awesome good person if you don't have the guy who's willing to do the dirty work. And I don't know if that's a cynical way to look at the world, but I don't know. Sometimes things take sacrifice, and the anti-hero is going to be the one to do it, probably,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's important.
But if there's
I mean,
a game,
I think it's Severo, right? Like he's very much
right?
I love Severo. Might be my favorite character in the Red
so
Rising
good.
trilogy.
So good.
But
he is
I'm
kinda
not
that.
done yet, so I don't know what's.
I'm
I'm
not
so
gonna say anything.
scared of. I'm so scared.
So
But-
scared.
But
I think
I
in-
need to finish Red Rising.
Yeah.
In games where you get to choose all the actions and it's a true RPG, I tend to go towards the at least my first playthrough, I go like the Paragon route. You know,
Yeah.
like
I
making
agree.
the good decisions, trying to
I don't
make
like
things
being
better.
an asshole
Right.
for no
Yeah.
reason. Just
Especially in a
walking
Fallout
to bar,
game.
Be like, I'm gonna kill all you because it's fun.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this
Because
is
the settings are
completely-
most settings in games are usually like bad things are happening, and these people don't have
Yeah.
the best lot in life, so you just like you'd want to help them.
Right.
That just real quick to jump in, like
And I think you've said that before.
Yeah, I've said that before. Like my philosophy, like I'm drawn towards going against whatever the status quo is.
Right.
If it's like a really great society that's on the verge of utopia, I'd rather be something that would be a wrench.
You want to throw some paint on it.
Yeah.
In the gears there.
Screw it up.
If it's a broken down Fallout, whatever, I want to be like I want to be a beacon of hope, or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
something that goes against the general vibe of the place.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's why this is.
You got to
This is-
pluck the string and see what note it makes, just let it sit
and that
there.
and that answers the question. What you said, context
Yeah.
really matters.
It
Right.
does. This is why I love Rand al'Thor's character. This whole conversation is why I love Rand al'Thor's character development throughout Wheel of Time. Even though it took 40 billion words to do, watching
several
someone
decades.
so good in the beginning. I mean, he really cares about. He's really worried about how everyone feels.
Oh, yeah.
He's moving through life trying to do the best he can. Does do the best he can, and then he becomes committed to change, and then he goes sour fast.
His commitment,
and he becomes
Yeah.
quite a dangerous villain, in a way.
yeah, he has to be stoned.
It's
Yeah,
debatable.
many-
It's debatable, yeah. But and then that redemption moment
Right.
that moves it into the finale. That was like one of the most. That was just
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, there is a point
as
where-
far as characters go.
Everyone's afraid to just even be around him.
Yeah, even the people closest.
Yeah.
His-
They're like,
they bring Tim in.
I
and
don't know if
he
I want to go
looks-
in there.
Yeah.
He's become so.
It's nuts.
It's
He's
great.
become a terrorist,
Great.
right? Like doing whatever he needs to.
He's
any
doing,
means necessary.
and
It's a
he's-
dangerous idea.
got the power to do it, and
That's
Yeah.
great.
This
Love
was
it.
a good topic, though. The whole character development.
I could always
It's core to
riff
all
on
these
this.
stories that you play. All the video games.
I
Right.
really want to read that book that you suggested, and
Which one? Ready Player One?
Yes.
the one about heroes, about writing about a hero. It's the one that goes along that.
Oh, you mean not like a novel? You mean the what is that book? Joseph Conrad? No, Joseph.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Oh, Joseph Campbell's.
Joseph Campbell.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the archetype.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The man with the
Many
thou-
Faces
the
of a
with
Hero
thousands-
or
yeah,
whatever.
Hero with the Thousand
Yeah.
Faces.
Yes.
I'd like to, because it's,
Definitely read it.
it seems like an amazing look at how a hero is created in a story, because that's a huge.
It is.
It's repeated throughout history
That's
across
it.
cultures.
I mean, that's what's amazing about the book is that I think he nails it on
and
the
I've
head.
read a few
Yeah,
excerpts. And,
Yeah.
it's really cool. I definitely read it. Everybody read it.
There you go. Well, that about wraps it up. We're all out of time here. Episode 18 of Rough Around the Edges.
Nice.
Check us out on our webpage, as you would guess, roughneckgames.com, and also on YouTube.
The stuff we got.
We
the
on
YouTube.
YouTube.
We're on YouTube,
And
Twitter,
Twitter Bookface
Twitter Bookface,
Plus.com.
Twitter
All of
ya.
those.
at
Bye.
Roughneck Games.
See ya.